Hello, hello. Did that work for everybody? Did that fix it?
I I know. Is that okay? Can you guys hear me right now? It's showing that I have sound now. Okay, awesome. I see some people saying yes. I am terribly sorry about that. That was ridiculous. I man, I am terribly sorry. And yes, Uncle Social, you look at my panicked face there. That was crazy. I hate that. I am so terribly sorry. It was working. It shows up, and then all of a sudden it doesn't. Um, Wonderful. And some people are saying no, that they can't still. Uh, okay, so is that okay for everyone? I see some people. Okay, yeah, awesome. People, sound is always a thing. I don't know why, but now, now that we've got that worked out, welcome everybody. I'm glad that you guys were able to finally hear me join in and help me troubleshoot this. I really appreciate that, and I apologize to Rebecca on Facebook and a few others who were like troubleshooting your phone settings. That was entirely me. I was just talking to myself apparently, and I'm very sorry. So, without any more distraction or delay, I want to dig into the links that we've got put together this week, and under the news section in the video description here, there is a really big thing that WordPress came out with this week. I don't know if you guys have read about it, but they're calling it News Pack, and they're actually working on this news publishing solution. That's what they call it, is the news publishing solution for any kind of news organization. And that doesn't sound that interesting. And then I started thinking about it, and when I saw this, I was like, yeah, well, that's neat, but everybody already has websites. They're putting out all of this content anyway, even local news and newspapers. And that's when I realized they're terrible. That I don't know about you guys in your areas, but the more local you get for radio stations, for newspapers, local TV, their websites don't tend to be nearly as high quality as the ones for, obviously, for larger news organizations. And so it was interesting to me to see that they're doing this, because that's going to really open up some possibilities to really enhance the way that we can all interact with our local communities if we can get the local news outlets, newspapers, all of that involved. One of the things that our local newspaper has where I live is that their website works, but it doesn't exactly, it's not user friendly at all. They've been trying to do redesigns and UX redesigns forever, and it's always just one of those things that's in progress, and it's hard to use a lot of times and find exactly what we're looking for when something's going on around our area. So this is the kind of thing that got me excited, because if you can get this out there and available to different news organizations, that maybe it will allow all of us to get a little bit more invested in our communities. It's really, really a good thing. I see Judy on YouTube saying that micro local news sites are often DIY, that it's WordPress in the hands of people with minimal skills and complex communications need. And that is exactly right. That's kind of what ours is as well. That's what the ones I know, at least in my hometown and the town I live in now, aren't even WordPress sites. They're more homebrew HTML sites, the way that they're posting, and it kind of shows. And that's not a bad thing. They do what they do. It's just that they're a little outdated. So this sounds like a great thing for organizations like that. So they're looking right now for a set of all different kinds of demographics of testers for this. So if your local organizations need something like this, if you think that they'd be willing to give the kind of feedback and really relaunch and jumpstart what they're doing, this may be something that you could tell them about, so that they're looking at this and maybe be able to improve it for you. I see Uncle Social says the biggest local newspaper company in the UK has recently gone bankrupt, and dozens of local websites were all the same and all awful. That was kind of the thing with our local one, Uncle Social. They were owned by a much larger national newspaper, and then when they sold them, that's when to a more local newspaper organization. That's when the website really started being harder to use because they had to outsource that kind of technology and IT. So this is the kind of thing that will hopefully fix that kind of stuff, because that's how most of us get our news these days is online, and we want it to be able to where we can read it. So that's something that's interesting to me when I saw it. So tell the people around you, tell your radio stations and your newspapers, and see if they're willing to make this good for all of us. So yeah, I thought that was super neat. I see Judy says on YouTube, I have a client and can't fix the terrible template he's bought, that you're working to get him on Divi. That may be an option for him. It really might be. They haven't launched the product yet. I mean, remember that this is just a newspack.blog, I think is what they're going to be using right now. This is preliminary testing stuff, but it's a really, really good option for people like that. So yeah, I really wanted everybody to know about that. Another one that I found, I put under news because this is something that some people don't know about, and so I want you to know about this. A lot of people, there are two ways that we tend to go about Divi. The second one, the second news item is dealing with the Divi theme versus the Divi Builder plugin. And so I want you guys who don't know this to know that if you install the Divi theme, you do not have to install the Divi Builder plugin. I made that mistake for a long time and had it doubled up. It does absolutely nothing on your site if you have the Divi theme and the Divi Builder plugin. And so you can absolutely just use the theme, or you can use the Divi Builder plugin with whatever theme that you have. Like if Judy had this client with the template, that you could use the Divi Builder with that and maybe make it a little more customizable and useful without having them feel like they've wasted the money. And so that is why I included this in the second thing under news, is because Divi Space did a rundown of what both of them do. That specifically the benefits and the pros and cons of both the builder and the theme, like what you can do differently with both. And I wanted you guys to know about that. Like, more than anything else, I wanted you to know the options that you have, because I know a lot of clients that you have a theme that they're using and that they are sold on using that one. I mean, they paid their money at Theme Forest and they like it, and you have some issues with it. You can use the Divi Builder plugin, and they talk about the differences and stuff like that in this article. So I wanted you guys to be able to see that, and honestly, just know that the Builder plugin is out there for other themes as well. So that was one of the reasons that it is a separate plugin, because it's built right into the Divi theme. So yes, I hope that enlightens someone, because I had been using Divi for nearly a year before I realized I didn't have to double up on it. So it was after I started working here. I'd freelanced and built and used Divi, and then wrote here, and then got hired, and it was after that I learned not to use the plugin as well. So so there's no shame in not knowing that. It's kind of this, oh, that makes sense moment for me when I learned. Excuse me. So it's a really good idea on using it with other themes like Genesis. I know a lot of people have invested in Genesis. It works really well with Genesis. The Divi Builder plugin works well with Astra, I know. So just whatever your clients are using, there are those kind of options out there. So good stuff. Then I wanted to put also in the news when thinking about these kind of new options, what we're going to be doing with clients, what the future is going to be when they start using, say, 2019, and that's what your client has and they want to stick with it. So I wanted to point out, Jason put together an overview of WordPress 5.0 and the new block editor. There are a couple of reasons I put this under news. The first being that a lot of people haven't messed with the new block editor yet. That when you install WordPress 5.0, you may have already had the classic builder installed and you may have not even messed with the new block builder. And so I wanted you to go and look through this and see what Gutenberg has become right now and how much it's improved since they first released it last year as a beta plugin. I see Web Lady Kim actually has ties right in with this. Is the Divi plugin better than Gutenberg? And I will say it entirely depends on you and your client. And I say that for two reasons. As far as page builders go, there is no question in my mind that Divi is better. When you're looking for design, when you're looking for everything, Divi, hands down. Gutenberg does have its place. The block builder does have its place because it actually makes publishing and writing blog content much easier, I think, than the previous editor and then writing in Divi with using Divi modules as blog content. Not page design, but actually putting the words in just blog posts. The Gutenberg builder is fantastic for that. And I was actually teaching a friend how to use WordPress for the very first time, and I gave him the option of the Gutenberg builder, the Divi builder, or the WYSIWYG builder, the TinyMCE. And he chose Gutenberg out of those because it looked like it was the simplest. And the more I've used it, I've got blog posts on there. It's good for blogging. It's good for writing content. But when it comes to actually, designing the pages, it does not have anywhere near the strength and power that Divi does. And that's why I wanted to actually show you this article, because actually for two reasons. You may not have touched it. So if you haven't looked at it, take a look at it. It's not nearly as painful as it used to be. There are still bugs to work out, don't get me wrong, but it is in a much better place now for publishable content. Also, they're calling it the new block editor now, or the block editor. We're not seeing the term Gutenberg thrown around nearly as much as we used to. That's kind of a term that a lot of us in the WordPress community use. We knew about it before. And so when you see plugins about it, you may just see it be referred to as the block editor. So if you see that, be aware that they may be phasing out the term Gutenberg, and they may not be. I mean, it could be one way or the other, but generally it's being referred to as the block editor. So as you write your stuff, as you put your own plugins out there, just be aware that that kind of terminology is being used, and you might want to make sure that people know what you're talking about, because they'll know the block editor. They might not know Gutenberg if they're just coming onto the platform or something like that. But so I thought that was a good breakdown. Jason goes through that and really shows what is up with 5.0 and the block editor and Gutenberg. And then make.wordpress.org is the official WordPress blog. That's where all of the development and different kinds of updates get posted. And we were talking last week how some of the updates are going to be in 5.1, where they're not going to be referring to blogging. It's going to say happy publishing instead of happy blogging and things like that, where they're moving it to a more website-centric model and publishing model as opposed to blogging, which has a more hobbyist kind of connotation. And so this time they've also said that they're putting in on 5.1, which is the next major update, they are putting in site health mechanisms. And this is one that is terribly important for you guys. The reason I brought this up is because your clients are probably going to freak out about it, because it's going to give them warnings. It's going to give you warnings. It's going to give me warnings if our server is not running a high enough PHP, we are going the image that it has says that WordPress has detected that your site is running on an insecure version of PHP. So by using the term insecure, your clients might freak out about it, that they're going to get hacked, all of this. And the way that they said the current threshold for which PHP versions to display the notice will be anything below 5.6. So while the current lowest PHP version still receiving security updates is 7.1, the idea is not to go all the way at the beginning to limit all the way down. So they're wanting PHP 5.6 is what everyone's bumping their requirements to. So if they're still on 5.1, they're going to be getting this, and they may be getting it at 5.6 so that they can update to 7. There's already stuff doing that. There's already some documentation. There's already some documentation out there telling people to update. Specifically, if you are working on plugins, it's on the repository now. So this is just another way to try to keep everybody inching forward on having good PHP backgrounds running on their server. I see Uncle Social said, sorry, I get distracted by comments if you're new. So I was looking at it. I see that Uncle Social said, heads up, the Divi theme customizer options are in the Divi theme, but not in the Divi plugin. Whichever theme would obviously use the customizer. Yeah, that's true. So going back to the Divi theme versus Divi plugin, the theme customizer is based on the theme. You do still, I think, don't hold me to it, I'd have to look. I honestly can't remember. I think you get Divi options though, so you'll be able to do some of that stuff through the builder. But yeah, that is theme level stuff. And then Judy says, oh yes, they will freak out. Clients are largely new, but believing they know more than they do stage. And I think we're all at that a little bit. I think we're all guilty of being think we know more than we do stage. And that's why we still break stuff. So I break stuff all the time. Oh, I broke stuff hard yesterday. Last night it was, I broke it pretty good. One of my websites, like I could not figure out why I had forbidden myself from it. So, I mean, thought I knew more than I did. File structures, man. And I see that Piotr on Facebook says, when will it be possible to publish the WooCommerce? Could you be slightly... Oh, man, more comments. Could you be a little more specific on that? Because they're working on... we published one WooCommerce update. I'm not sure when another one is due, but I think one is being worked on. Saman... you need to build your own booking appointment plugin. That would be really cool. Booking appointment plugins are incredibly complicated. One time I tried to write my own booking plugin in Ruby, and that did not go well. Actually, that was what got me using WordPress, was doing that. See some new people are coming in. Tanya, Mary, hi everybody. And I see Matthew says on YouTube that if a host doesn't offer at least PHP 5.6, then it's time to change hosts. Yeah. I've had some in the last year finally start updating. I've seen some people say that they were on 5.1 and their servers and their host wouldn't update it. That's when it's time to move. Most of them are moving that. I was surprised that whenever I was shopping around for my own, that a lot of them were actually already running on 7.1, and that wasn't common when I was looking around last year. And Uncle Social on YouTube says the Divi feature sneak peek WooCommerce modules. I honestly couldn't remember, Uncle Social, if it was a sneak peek or a release. That's one thing that I honestly could not remember. Because I remember seeing it and going through it, but I couldn't remember if it was there or not. Because I don't use WooCommerce, which is why. That was something that's never even come back across my radar. So that is something that is still being worked on then, Piotr. So yeah, the... PHP site health is going to be really important for you guys. So be sure to keep that in mind. It will be on there as soon as your site updates to 5.1. So it's something that will stay there. So just be aware. Let your host know if you're the one who's running the host or communicating with the host for the clients. That's where you'll get the need to be on it for support. I see. Uncle Social had to buy the WooCommerce builder for Divi from Divi Kingdom this week. That's something that happens a lot, and I think that might be a really good option right now because I'm not sure where that is in the development cycle. I like third-party plugins personally because they kind of fill in those holes that we're working on. So I like that. But anyway. That was all of the news. It was quite a bit of news going on this week, and I wanted to point out and let you guys know that if you are new to the show, if you're just joining in, that we go through 3 sections every week. The news we just finished up with, then there's the tutorials, and then there's resources. So you can follow along in the video description and click on any of the links that sound interesting to you. The first one under tutorials was a Donetta Divi resource that was just fantastic. As everything she does is, Jason knocked it out of the park with Gutenberg this week, and Donetta knocked it out of the park with the gradient backgrounds as background image masks. It makes everything so pretty. Like, y'all know that everything that she designs is beautiful. It's just pretty. I just wanted to point this out to you that if you haven't seen that particular tutorial yet, it's a really, really good one to be able to use, because I am terrible personally at image masks. Like, I try to use them and make my own, and they always look bad. There's not been one time I've tried to do one on my own that it hasn't looked bad, and then I had to go find a solution to fixing to make it look like I wanted in my head online. So just having that available right there to know how to do it in the Divi builder is awesome. So I'd written an article this week as well called The Readability Score, what it is, why it's important, and how to get a good one on every post. This is an article that I remember a while back someone mentioned that I ought to have a YouTube channel talking about content creation. And if that was something that interests you, this is an article for you. It goes into the Flesch Kincaid reading score and a lot of different things like that on how the actual algorithms look at readability in your posts, not just Yoast, but what goes into Yoast and the SEM Rush writing assistant, things like that, as well as tips that you can use to actually make your blog post readable. Things that I have to do every single time I post and go back through. Things like hitting enter more than you want to. Honestly, I have to go through every single blog post I make and cut sentences, working on active versus passive voice. The rule that I always use, the one that I always used for my students was if you can put by zombies at the end of it, then it's passive. Like the wedding invitation was sent by zombies. It's like, okay, the zombies did it at the end, like that's passive. But the zombies sent the wedding invitation by zombies doesn't work, so that's active because they're the ones performing that action on the verb. So that's makes a lot of difference for readability and keeping your audience interested if you keep passive voice to a minimum. So that's your that's your grammar lesson with Professor Beach today. Then there was a WP beginner's guide that was cover image versus feature image. And now that the block editor is out, this is something that you may get asked by clients because there's going to be the feature image on the side in the post meta, like there always is. But there's also a block now for cover image. And so that's where it goes in and, uses a cover image on the page. It spreads it across the post length or the post width. You're going to get asked this as people use this, like, why do I have to put a post image here? Why do I have to put a feature? Which one will get shared on Twitter whenever I do this, or Facebook? This article tells you, because that's going to add, there's no way that's not going to come up, because when you see what it is, when you see the cover image, it's like, yeah, that's what I want my featured image to do, but it doesn't set it as featured. So all sorts of stuff like that happens when you start with a new editor like this and train people. And then in that same vein, WP Beginner also has one on how to import and export your own WordPress Gutenberg blocks. So if you're using reusable blocks, if you need to have something that you use for every client like you do in your Divi library, there are ways to do that with Gutenberg as well. So you can absolutely use the best of both worlds, honestly, because like I said, I like Gutenberg. There are a lot of ways to do it, and it shows how to import and export JSON. So y'all will need to do that at some point. And probably my favorite thing, one of my favorite things, I should say, this week on any of my articles is how to change the username on WordPress. That a lot of people see you can't change the username beside it, that in the user profile, as well, I'm stuck with this forever, and you're really not. Especially if you have something like admin as your username, you want to change that. There are a lot of different ways to do this, because you can't just straight up go in and change it. So this article from WP Shout really talks about two that are doable. That they're not the ones that I particularly like using. There's a video tutorial on here on how to use a plugin, and then there's how to change it by basically creating a new user and assigning all of the previous content to them. But there's also a way that I like using a plugin called Better Find and Replace, or Better Search and Replace, where you basically go through and change every instance of this username with this username in your database. And if you're comfortable with PHP MyAdmin, you can do stuff in there, or in MySQL. You can absolutely go in and fix stuff that way. I've done that as well. So you can totally change WordPress usernames, and that's really the main thing that I wanted to let you guys know about with this one, is that if you have a client with admin, if you have other kinds of really common usernames that will get hacked, that is there are options to fix that. I see oh wow, I see Saman on Facebook says that the Divi marketplace has a lot of bugged PHP plugins and caused a lot of 503 errors. That is one thing about using third-party plugins, that you have it's not vetted sometimes, depending on where you get it. And so I like to have a series of trusted sites that I know that I can fix. And sometimes that's not possible, but I hate that some of them are, but you just have to be careful and figure out which ones to trust. Sorry, like I said, there's a fantastic conversation going on in the Facebook comments that hasn't loaded in real time for me. That is a trilingual website made with Divi and a tutorial how to master that. That's fantastic, and I am incredibly. There's Uncle Social says, I'm amazed by anyone that can speak more than one language. And Tanya says that many of us in Africa speak several languages, and I'm blown away by that. Every time I find out that someone can speak multiple languages, trilingual or quadlingual, it's amazing to me, because I can barely speak my own, even as an English professor. You guys can see that. No, it's something that is amazing. So especially being able to make a trilingual website, that's a really, really good accomplishment. So congratulations. There's a link to that in the Facebook comments. It was COTTWAY.com, Cotway. And then I see on YouTube, that usernames and passwords. There was a massive dump of hacked accounts this week on WordPress. The website Have I Been Pwned with your email address to see if you're affected. I was part of this. I know that my email was. I got an email from Have I Been Pwned, and I've been pwned. That is a danger of anything. So when you have something like that happen, change your email. You can now change your username on knowing about this using WordPress, which is even more secure than just changing your email. So that kind of thing. And Video Superhero says if you have cool admin and admin as usernames, you can do or find and replace on admin, and then cool admin references will be changed. Awesome. Sorry, comments every time. But yeah, so I love finding out stuff like that, what you can do and what changes and what doesn't in the websites that are being made. They're going further down into the tutorials. There is one that's how to do a content audit of your website. Just to touch on this really quickly, they talk about why auditing your content's important. And what this means is going through, checking to see if all of your content is updated, if your links are broken, if all of your images work, if you have redesigned your blog, making sure that the images aren't completely pixelated and make your site look unprofessional. They also check for SEO, where maybe if you were using 2012 SEO practices, that in 2019 those aren't working anymore. Keyword stuffing. So whatever you have done then, you should go back through and look at. And TorqueMag will walk you through everything. This is something I know that having been in the middle of one of these, how important it is, because there are tools that collect all of the URLs for you so that you can see what you need. You can use Search Console. There's one that they call Screaming Frog. They talk about how you can use different spreadsheets to do this. Really, really important for this, because you can look at this data and tell what used to be popular and what's not anymore. And what's popular now that just all of a sudden took off. That if you have something that had a Fortnite level just spike in popularity, you can maybe see what caused that at what point. So, yeah, that is that's something that I think is really important. You can do content updates. You can do entire new rewrites of some old articles and then redirect the old URL to the new one, where you have completely new content but gets link juice from the other one. That kind of stuff really keeps your website looking good to search engines and provides new users with content that they may have missed back in your archives. And I see Video Superhero, I was wrong. Like the idea of knowing that, when I was talking about the cool admin and admin, they changed all of the cool admin to admin, but didn't know that. So the username cool admin got changed unexpectedly. So yes, that is not so awesome. Ooh, that would be terrifying. I am sorry that happened. And then, so this tutorial, the next one under the content audit, has a headline that I was kind of just amazed at. GoDaddy is sneakily injecting JavaScript into your website and how to stop it. When I saw this, obviously I had to read it. And when I looked at this, it was both understandable on GoDaddy's side and also the way that they've done it, I don't like. Because what they've done is put in a snippet on everybody who's hosted through GoDaddy, put in a snippet of JavaScript for a thing called real user metrics, which is a way that they're monitoring how the website health and things like that are going on. So that is pretty normal that they're monitoring website access. Like looking at it, everybody gets tools like that. The issue here is that you don't opt into it. That's something that that's the first issue, and the second is that they actually have a snippet in their in their help section that says most customers won't experience issues when opted in to RUM, but the JavaScript may cause issues including slower site performance and a broken or inoperable website, which is what happened to this this person who wrote this article. Noticed that their website was going on, and that they slowed down, and you can opt out of this. And that's the reason that I wanted to bring this up, that if you are a client, and I'm 90% certain that probably 90% of the people watching this right now have a client on GoDaddy. If you're not on GoDaddy yourself, I have GoDaddy domains. I mean, I was hosted on GoDaddy for a while myself. I think my wife's library is still hosted on GoDaddy. Lots of people are. So if you want to check out of this and opt out of this and check to see if it improves your site speed, this is definitely an option. They tell you how to do that. It's under the, where is it? From the hosting console, click on the ellipsis in the top right-hand corner and click on Help Us, and then there's an opt-out button there. So it might, if you're trying to squeeze out those milliseconds on your client sites, if you want to make sure that they are absolutely as optimized as much as possible, this is one to check. The comments in the GoDaddy article claim it's enabled by default in the USA, but opt-out disabled by default in the glorious EU thanks to your wonderful GDPR. GDPR is a great thing for that. It was interesting to me, speaking of the GDPR, just as a tangent, when I was in Spain recently, how much different the GDPR changes websites from the United States to the European Union, that just seeing the number and ways that they actually, and that everybody overseas has really reacted GDPR, shows me how behind American websites are in terms of actually providing this information up front. It was really interesting to me. So just seeing it, how much better it is handled in Europe than it has been in the United States is pretty shocking. So yeah, check on it if you have GoDaddy, people, which apparently Monique does. I have a couple of clients on GoDaddy. One of the sites has a very bad issue with site speed, so I'll check out that article. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. I haven't personally run this. I haven't had a GoDaddy site in a while, but it's always worth checking. Anytime that there's JavaScript on your page that you didn't know about, check it out. And then I see Saman talks about Yoast SEO being a good plugin. Y'all always know I love Yoast. And he recommends Forminator. I've never used Forminator, but he says it works well with the Divi theme. So that's one thing I always want to let you guys know about any theme that works, any plugins that work well with Divi, that Forminator does. So I will definitely be looking at that for myself. Thank you, Saman. If I'm mispronouncing your name, let me know, because I have no idea if I am right or not. And everybody who's a regular knows I hate mispronouncing people's names. And then the next to last thing under the GoDaddy article is how to decrease your site's bounce rate. Katsu Code put this one out. I put this in here as a reminder to you guys. Always be keeping mind on what's happening for retention, on what your site is doing for retention. That if it's running slowly is the first thing. And number two is actually one of the things I wanted to talk about, because it's add social proof. Guys, I am seeing so much on different websites right now of customer testimonials, that I'm seeing so many different websites running videos at the top of their page, just talking directly to their customers about what this company has done for them or how much they love their products. And it's everywhere, so it obviously works. I know that there is a video testimonial that Elegant Themes still has up from Gino Quiroz. I know I'm Quiroz.co. I can't remember. I'm butchering his name, I know, but I know that his is wonderful and has helped. Like, things like that are always good. So if you have anyone who's willing to do that, it's wonderful. It's kind of like you listen to podcasts and YouTube videos, and it's like, like this video, or give us reviews on iTunes. That kind of thing really works. Social proof really, really, truly works. So just that kind of thing to keep in mind. Not gonna really go into a lot of more, No reason to. We've been through that kind of thing a lot, but I thought that you guys should definitely think about at the beginning of the year while we're setting up new strategies on whether or not you can get any testimonials for your business or for some of your clients, and see if it helps their revenue any. And so with that in mind, I want to move into the resources where the very first thing that under the resources is actually posted by WooCommerce. It's titled Millennials and Peer Recommendations. And when I saw this headline, there was no way I wasn't clicking into it. And I'm one of the I think I fall into the elder millennial category that depending on who it is, like I do recognize with most of the stuff when people are like, oh, those millennials, I fall in. Like I had a faculty meeting one time where one of my my colleagues was talking about how teaching the millennials and how they were doing this and that, and I'm like, I'm not. And it was funny to make them see like, oh yeah, they're here, like they're here. So when I saw this for WooCommerce, obviously I had to click in. And what they talk about here is, again, talking about social proof, that they're talking about how much social interaction plays into millennial purchasing habits. And I absolutely know this is true for me. I know this is true for my wife. And it's true for apparently 39.8% of millennials when they were surveyed, that social media is included in their top 3 reasons they buy something. The other ones are family and friends. So they are... So when you're doing that, like the reason, and I saw this, that they say it's because, we grew up watching YouTube videos. I didn't. I was born in 1983. And unboxing videos, again, not a thing when I was little. But I've become an adult and a young adult during this. So that's what I know, how to consume media now. And a lot of you guys do as well. Do you check reviews beforehand? Do you see somebody talk about something really awesome on Facebook or Twitter, and then you want to go try it out too? I had the best sandwich at Subway I've ever had. It was a garlic bread and meatball marinara sandwich. And on my podcast, like I was raving about this and called it the most delightful sandwich I ever had. The number of tweets that I got from my listeners telling me that they just went out and bought that sandwich and sent me pictures of it just to try blew my mind. But that's how people buy stuff, is by recommendation. So when I saw this and they go down, I'm like, how does this tie into WooCommerce? Like, what are they really going to get at? They talk about sharing, that that how millennials will share, that how the way, according to a recent study, 46% of young millennials, people who are 18 to 23, and 67% of older millennials, that's me, the 24 to 38, say they prefer to shop on a smartphone or tablet. So those are the people who are doing everything online, who are looking at the user reviews, who are seeing stuff on Twitter, and who are absolutely going to buy stuff buy your products online instead of going into a brick and mortar store. So when they talk about this, what they eventually came to was Venmo. And I don't get Venmo. Okay, for what they're talking about, it's not how I use Venmo at all. But it's interesting because it's here. Venmo is a PayPal type service where, if you haven't used it before, it is, you send friends and family money. It's a back and forth splitting the bill kind of thing. Hey, you bought a ticket, here, let me pay you back for it. Which is actually what happened when I used it for the first time and made my account while I was in Barcelona. Because I'd never used it, but that's what Joy used. And so when I see that there's a stream on there that you can share what you're paying for, and it was like, I'm not telling people that I'm paying back a ticket for this. That's ridiculous. I don't want people to see my spending habits. Other people do. And apparently in Venmo, this has become a social stream where people are using it for recommendations, and they see what other people are buying and seeing if they want part of it too. That Venmo has apparently, the way that they said, Venmo has cultivated a forum where it's natural for friends and family to talk about where they got that vintage t-shirt, scored a makeup haul, got the last gadget, and things like that, that it is significant enough for them to make a purchase that they talk about it on the purchasing platform immediately. And that blows my mind, the idea that this happens, because it's not something I would do. But my little cousin was on there doing it. I saw hers. I saw a transaction between my cousin and her mom. It was just, for what they were doing, it was weird to me. But this is where you can make a lot of money, y'all. The way that they go down, they show that a lot of us have PayPal buttons on our sites that's like, oh yeah, use PayPal to pay for our stuff. Include a Venmo button that if you want people to do it, they're shopping, like 70% of people in my age range are shopping online, that if you have a Venmo button, we probably have a Venmo account. And if we do, and we click Venmo rather than PayPal, because they're most likely coming out of the same place, and I think they're owned by the same company, that it's going to show up in a social feed. Someone else is going to see it then, and they may redirect to your site. It is an absolutely ridiculous scheme. It's one that I had no idea existed, but when I saw this and they wrote it out, I was like, yeah, that's a fantastic idea. So any of you who are running clients, websites, who are running e-commerce sites, who are potentially thinking about getting into it, that's an idea to keep in the back of your mind, that if you want to take Venmo and then track to see how other how sales work from that, if any are referred or anything like that, it's crazy to think about that being a thing. So yeah, I got excited about this one because it was such a new idea to me. The idea of this social network based around actually just buying stuff, but about your receipts. It was so foreign to me, but at the same time, I was like, yeah, that's what I do. I'm like, I just tweet about it after I buy it on Amazon instead of just talking about it on the platform. It's like, it comes out of my PayPal account or whatever, and then I'm like, oh, hey, cool, guys, I bought this, and post a link or a picture to it. Like, I do that. I never even thought that it was the same thing as this, but it is. So maybe you'll be able to get some more sales that way. Think about including a Venmo button on your site. One other thing before I end on this one, there is research on this, that they have linked all of their statistics and where they got this stuff at the bottom of the article. And anyone who does this, just I love you for that, for providing footnotes and links and references. But it's on there talking where they got these numbers. So some of them even come straight from Venmo themselves. So good stuff. And yeah, Video Superhero confirmed, yeah, that PayPal owns Venmo and Braintree. So that's what I was thinking, but I'd forgotten about Braintree. And hi, Trustwoody. I see you first time on my live stream. Hi, how you doing? Thank you for tuning in. And I see, oh man, on the comments on Facebook, Tanya says that GoDaddy fines you heavily if you renew or reclaim domains after the expiry date. I spent a huge amount on ransom because she was a week or so late. That happened to me. It was about 5 years ago, but it happened to me and I had to have the URL. So I was like, oh, I guess I'll pay you a ridiculous amount of money. It's like, I own this. It's like, why are you doing this to me? It's like, because I missed my automatic payment that wasn't set up. As like Samantha says, yes, it's important to reschedule or schedule your subscriptions. That was exactly what didn't happen to me, and I've learned since then. I get emails about that. So yeah. Then we've done some on the Elegant Themes blog over the last couple of months on how waking up early can help your progress, how you can be more productive while you wake up early, this kind of stuff. And WPMU Dev saw our early morning and called us. I don't know if they did or not. I'm just saying it's a poker analogy and I'm terrible at it. But they're talking about forget waking up early, that night owls have better superpowers. So they go into what it's, some people aren't morning people. Some people do function creatively better at night. So that's an article that if that's you may want to check out. And then underneath that, There is 5 must-join Slack workspaces for WordPress pros and developers. Yeah. The more Slacks and Discords and forums and feeds that you can get in and interact with people in, the better. Facebook groups, whatever it is, live stream chats. Those are making connections. Those are ways that you can interact with the community and let people know who you are, make a name for yourself, so that people will be like, oh, I like talking to them, and do that. These Slacks are so important. I've learned so much from being in different Slack channels with different organizations. There's a local developers one here around my area for the whole North Alabama area. There is one in Nashville, Tennessee, I know, called Nash Dev. And then there's these 5 in here that are like an official WordPress one, things like that. It's awesome. And so check those out if you're not already into that kind of thing. Y'all should check that out. And while I'm speaking of Slack, did you guys see the redesign that they did on their logo? Like, it's driving me crazy. I hate this thing. I don't like it. A, I don't like change. And B, I don't recognize it and wonder what it is in my taskbar all the time. And also, I don't like it. It's ugly, and I wish they would not do that. It looks pretty terrible. And Uncle Social, it is, you can trace a swastika in the white space, and it's not a good look. People have been pointing that out a lot. And even on top of that being not good, I don't understand how they got through the oversight. It's just ugly. Like, I'm not even, like, I don't like it. Like, and it's subjective, I know, but it's like, y'all's hashtag looked good. I liked it. Maybe there's a reason behind it that I just don't know about. I would love to see it. The reasoning, not the logo. I don't like seeing it. I tickled myself. So I've only got a few minutes left. So make sure I don't have any comments there. So WooCommerce posted another article on pricing tactics for digital products. Their Divi Cake posted a really good article on uses for our new dynamic content feature. I know people are loving that concept, but aren't really utilizing it because they're not really comfortable with it yet because it's so new and good. And I'm the same way, where they give you some ideas on how to do this on your website to use our dynamic content feature, because it's really powerful. It's great, and Divi Cake does good stuff. Then Get Flywheel posted the best creative conferences in 2019. I don't even know what to say other than y'all need to go to some of these conferences. They're great. I cannot speak highly enough, like I say, of the conference circuit, I guess, of going to different conferences for professional development. I'm a people person, so I just go and I can just talk to people. And so that's really where the value comes for me, is meeting everyone and talking. But the panels and the content is just great. And so with 19 of them, there's surely something in there that you can, 30, sorry, it was 2019. With 30 of them, you'll absolutely find something that is right up your alley. I see Video Superhero says that the dynamic content is very limited. It needs to be able to reference other pages. One thing that I would like out of it, that I'm going to actually poke the dev team for eventually, is I want it to be able to pull a media URL from an RSS feed so that the Divi audio widget updates with a new... every time I post a new podcast, it updates with my new MP3 of it. So I can do that. Otherwise, it would be perfect for me if they did that. That's what I want out of it. Is that this year that they're stopping? He mentioned that Google Maps API is no longer free as of June 18th. That's this year, right? It hasn't already stopped. It wasn't that it's last year. Just want to make sure. Because I read about it and I don't remember when. And then just various things. Oh, it was last year. Holy cow. I'll see what's going on. And then they're just, the last few things are the 10 best places to learn CSS online. Just you need a refresher. Everybody does, and I love finding new places I can look as a reference. And then there are always weekly free goods. Uncle Social sent me a couple of links, apparently last week, that I completely missed. The weekly free stuff from Creative Market is beautiful. There are some really, really good pop art stuff, clip arts that I downloaded today, actually, from it that are pretty. And then Theme Forest always has January free items, and if you sign in on Theme Forest, about halfway down the page, you'll find that. And there are plugins that you can download and just keep for when you need it, and they're good things. So I think that is it for me. I see that Video Superhero says that it's messed up a lot of sites that way. That oh man, that messed up a lot of sites that way. I have no man. I'll check in on that. I have no clue what's gone on with the Google Maps module. So yeah, like I said, I think that's me. I'm running out of time, so I want to thank everybody for joining in. I know there were some new faces in the crowd, so I want to thank you for tuning in. Hope you tune in again. Like I mentioned earlier, you can like this video and click the notification bell to subscribe and get notifications whenever our channel goes live. We do have multiple live streams. This one on Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. On Monday, Matt goes through Divi features at 6 a.m. Eastern time, and then on Tuesday afternoons, we have a use case with either Jason or Donietta, just going through use cases of various things that you can do with Divi. So at 3 p.m. Eastern. So make sure that you subscribe to notifications on YouTube, and you can also on Facebook tell them you want to be notified under the following drop down whenever we go live. So hopefully we will see you again. Like I said, thanks for joining us, and I will see you guys next Friday. Bye, everybody.